So guys, today I'm going to talk about a relatively unknown yet crucial element of personal well-being and happiness, and that is flow, or achieving a state of flow. Now this term was made popular by the author Mihai I really can't say his name, I'm just going to put it right there. He describes it as complete immersion in a task such that the ego, time, any distractions, internal or external, become irrelevant, and the only thing that matters is the thing that you're doing. Now, we would have all experienced this at some stage in our life. Think about when you've been so immersed in an activity and you enter a highly productive workflow where time just seems to fly by, and the task, even though it seems kind of challenging, you're good at it, you're able to do it, and you keep progressing. Now, when you're in a flow state, you feel like you're achieving your purpose, and the activities you're doing minute by minute, second by second, seem to give you a lot of satisfaction. Now, when you're in this state, time seems to be moving really slowly when you're doing the task, but when you look at it in hindsight, it feels like time has just flown by. It's this paradoxical approach to time in that in the moment it seems slow, like you have all the time in the world to answer that question you're answering. But then all of a sudden, when you've done 5 or 6 answers, you're like, oh shit, time just flew by. It actually alters the way you perceive time. So what happens to the brain in a state of flow? Your prefrontal cortex actually starts reducing its functioning, and this is the active, rational thinking part of the brain. And rather, your brain appears to go into autopilot mode. The flow state is particularly linked to the brain's dopamine response. Now, dopamine is the hormone which creates the sensation of pleasure, and it is extremely rewarding. Whenever you find a task rewarding, it stimulates your dopamine system. Now, for example, people with ADHD who take medication for that essentially stimulates their dopamine system, which allows them to find the task that they're doing more rewarding. When you achieve a flow state naturally without that, you're actually increasing the amount of dopamine in your body. Now, you need to understand that we don't completely understand what the brain operations are under a flow state, but these are some of the things that we do know happen when someone achieves a flow state. Now, you can achieve flow doing many things, from complex tasks to doing the most mundane things. Now, you have to remember that the task you're trying to do that achieves this is intrinsically motivating and not extrinsically. If you love your job and you love what you're doing, then you can achieve a flow doing your job. But if you only do your job as a means to an end to earn money, then you're not going to be able to achieve a flow state. However, if you have a side hobby, say painting or music, that you do merely for the act of doing it, those are tasks in which you're far more likely to achieve flow. Now, you can optimize your chances of achieving flow by manipulating your surroundings. So one thing that you want to do that should be fairly obvious by now is that you want to cut out all distractions. A simple thing like putting away your phone or downloading an app that prevents you from going on Facebook or Instagram can help you achieve flow more easily. Another thing you can do is to work in collaboration with other people. I mean, there's been research which suggests that achieving a flow state is easier in a group than as an individual. Next, create a feedback mechanism. Remember how I discussed the characteristic that feeling like you're achieving something is a crucial part of flow. That's why having a feedback mechanism is crucial. For example, if you're writing a book, you get that feedback, say, every time you complete a chapter, because you're feeling like you're completing a step in writing your book. One profession which has been particularly associated to flow is coding. Now, this is because coding has a lot of immediate feedback. Coders constantly feed in data, and then all of a sudden it just fits together and creates perfectly what they wanted to create. So it gives them that regular feedback, which is why coding is so strongly associated to flow. Now, a lot of you probably thought about flow in the past and thought of it just purely as a productivity mechanism, that, I didn't need to get into that flow state to achieve a certain task or something like that. However, I feel like that's not looking at it right. You should look at flow in a sense that it improves your overall well-being. People who achieve flow more often are happier people. And this comes back to the whole thing I talked about in my Science of Mindfulness thing. Again, when your task positive network is taking over and you're achieving that flow state in the task that you're doing, the opportunity for negative hypotheticals vanishes. You're not thinking about what could go wrong, what has gone wrong. You're just simply present. And that's what you should look at flow to provide you. That being present in the moment, understanding what it feels like to be present in the moment, and apply that in other aspects of your life. So guys, I hope you found this video interesting, because when I read about this whole flow concept, I thought it was particularly fascinating that there is this facet of well-being that we never really thought of as a facet of well-being, rather something, like something as a means to an end, like, oh, I need to use flow to achieve a certain thing, not realizing that the flow itself is what we should be seeking out. We want to do things that put us in that state. And I hope you guys find this interesting as well. That's all for today's video, guys. I will catch you next time. Cheers.